Welcome back to the Alvarez Project, everybody. I'm so excited for today's guest. Just like our first guest, this is somebody that I've known for a couple of years now that I've had the absolute pleasure of working with in varying capacities. Today we have a gentleman who is, and I wrote it down because I don't want to mess it up. He's a filmmaker, and I'm going to do and cinematographer who works with UFC fighters such as Charles Oliveira. He has worked with Snoop Dogg as of most recently. I mean, that he put that out there and I was like, damn, okay, we're working with some heavy hitters. He's also an executive producer at Roobet, which is a online gambling sort of...
It's an online casino.
Online casino. Okay. Just making sure I get that correct. I haven't worked with them in years. So we have Mr. Jon Lilly in studio today. I'm so excited that you decided to come on because I reached out to you and I was like, you're the quintessential person I want to have on this show.
I appreciate that. And excited to be here. You get to pop my podcast cherry. So.
Oh my, are we? Damn.
Yeah, first one.
And see, and we worked together on a podcast. That's how we got to know each other, as we worked with. I mean, can we talk about it? It's not out there anymore, but so you were like the lead producer on it. I was more so the production producer for Brandon Moreno's podcast, which was
Champion's Corner.
The Champion's Corner. He wanted to call it the Assassin Baby.
Yeah, we originally had it as the Assassin Baby podcast, but then he gave it to the fans.
Yeah, he gave it to the fans,
and it makes it hard too because at the end of the day, like Roobet was a title sponsor of it,
right?
And so even though Assassin Baby is Brandon's nickname, having baby correlated with casino,
I didn't even think of that.
It's always a really hard gray area. But luckily, the fans did go with Champion's Corner, and I felt like it had a better ring to it too. So.
It did. It was definitely a learning experience for me because the show was 99% of the time in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish. And it was a fun. I mean, I was just sharing some funny stories with you earlier about him calling me racist as a joke, and just it was literally like being with like a bunch of like teenagers. Yeah. And I assume if you're ever with them,
it's probably exactly how they are. But what you see on camera is exactly what you get behind the scenes, which is crazy and I feel like it's a lot of that way with majority of the fighters. It's like you see these guys that step in and, go to war with people, but then behind the scenes, they're exactly like us. They joke around at stupid things. They have passions of, random things. Brandon loves, Pokemon cards and things like that.
Legos.
But then all of a sudden you see him on a Saturday night and he's ready to kill somebody in an octagon.
Piecing somebody up.
It's insane.
Yeah. So that was a cool one because whenever somebody asks me, they always go, "Oh, who's the biggest person you've worked with?" And I go, "Well, what field or like what area of popularity?" Because like I have popular music clients, I have popular pop culture clients, and then I have popular sports. And Brandon's usually up there for MMA sports people. And I can always say like, "Oh yeah, I've met Tai Tuivasa. He's been in studio. I've met all these other great guys, but like." Brandon brought Rey Mysterio. Mm-hmm. That was a crazy one. You just Rey fucking Mysterio's in the studio, and you're like, you're really tiny, dude, but I'm still scared of you.
Yeah, that one was crazy too because if I remember correctly, literally got put together like days before the episode being recorded.
Yeah, I think it was either you or Jacob.
Yeah, I reached out to Jacob and said, "Hey, let's do a special guest on this one." And then all of a sudden he came back and said, "Okay, we're going to do Rey Mysterio." And I was like, all right. Like I grew up watching him all the time in WWE, WWF, WWE. Like it's insane. And then, same thing. You go and meet him and be like, all right, this is Rey Mysterio.
Yeah. And that was a cool one because my job before that was I worked at 2K Games and I was a QA tester on WWE.
Oh yeah.
So then I remember I got a photo with him and I was sending it to all my old coworkers and I was like, "You're not going to guess who I fucking met today."
Exactly.
But so that was like our first introduction. And then when we really got to work, because you weren't there for every show. And sometimes I wasn't even there. We had good engineers that I would just, "Okay, you guys got it. Okay, cool. I have to go work on something else." But we did a live in person and live on YouTube show with Brandon on location. And that was crazy to and I think we had like a week to set that up.
I don't even think we had a full week. I think we had 4 days.
I think you contacted me Monday and you said this might happen.
Yeah, I think we did it
Saturday.
It was either that Friday or that Saturday.
It was Friday. But you hit me up Monday and you're like, "Hey, we're gonna do this.
Yeah,
I need you to get me equipment together."
I think Brandon was the one who had the idea, and then Jacob reached out, was like, "Hey, we want to do something where the fans can be a part of it." And then obviously, contractually with the podcast, we have to have a certain amount of episodes a month. And so it was like, all right, let's figure it out. And so I reached out to you. I know really nothing when it comes to that field or anything that has to do with podcasts. And was just like, "Yo, can we do this? And if so, how?
Yeah.
And then from there, I mean, you took it and ran with it, and we got everything set up that we needed, and we made it work, and people loved it. So many people turned out to that episode, which was crazy to see that, obviously you see really big podcasts that, have millions of viewers and listeners, but you have Brandon, who had relatively just started his podcast. I think it was only 4 or 5 months in, maybe at that point, maybe a little bit longer. And I mean, the sports bar was packed with people that literally showed up just for this podcast.
Yeah. And I remember we were there, because I was like, yeah, I'm going to have you there to help. And he's like, actually, I have to fly out that night, so it's really going to be you. And I was like, it's really going to be me? Okay, all right. I mean, you were there for like the first, you helped us set up.
Yeah,
so like,
showed up to set up.
Yeah, you definitely helped.
Brandon was good. And then
you're like, but I got to go. I got to go. I was like, what? All right, cool. And I think you told that to me like the day before. And I was like, all right.
Well, it was the day before. I had a family emergency. So I had to fly out to Indiana to see my parents. But yeah, it was like, all right, well, I know that you can do this. I believe in you. We've got everything, for the most part handled. And if something's going to happen, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. For what was funny is, so it's in a nice bar. It's nice, but it's still a bar. Like, it's not meant for live productions. And so like the fun thing was like having to think of like, we get there and we're like, hey, so where's the Ethernet? And they were like, in the office. And we're like, where's that? And they're like, the other side of the bar, behind the bar.
Yep.
So I think I brought like 300 feet of Ethernet just to get it out there. But
everything.
But I wanted to use that as a preface to kind of get into you. So I wanted to, and you kind of told me a little bit, but how did you get started in the video production world that we're in now?
So it started, I mean, right as I finished kind of the tail end of playing football. I was very into bodybuilding at the time. And so at that point, there was the bigger influencers at the time was Christian Guzman, Max Tuning, Steve Cook, those guys. And they were doing YouTube videos. And so for me, as I went to college originally for athletic training and then decided to shift my focus into strength conditioning. And so it was like, okay, well, I'm already training. I love training. Why not just make fitness content? Like, these guys are doing it. Why can't I? And it's definitely a different beast to get into trying to do YouTube videos, especially at that time. And I just picked up a camera and started recording all my workouts, and then going from recording my workouts into vlogging. And then I forget exactly which project it was, but one of my old managers at a GNC I worked at, he had a production company that he had started up, and he asked me to help him out with a shoot. And that was my first time really being behind the camera. And I just fell in love with it, because you have so much more control in the moment. You can see things, shoot them the way you want, frame them the way you want, compared to trying to just vlog yourself. You can still do it vlogging. It just takes a lot more effort, a lot more takes, things along those lines. So then in 2019 is when I was like, all right, I kind of want to pursue this. This has all of my interest, all of, what I'm passionate about. And then I met, I'd already known him. One of my really good friends, Tung, he's in Cali. He used to film for the online coach, Raymond.
Okay.
And I was just like, hey, you're doing this, you have a full-time job that you created for yourself. Can you teach me? Like, can I help? Can I shadow? Can I do anything? And literally a week later, he said, hey, can you come second shoot this wedding for me? I'll pay you. And from there,
it starts with weddings.
Yeah.
Like, my first editing gig was weddings.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's getting married all the time. So
I guess
there's always the niche for wedding, photography, videography, everything with it. But yeah. And then from there, him and I just kind of became a dynamic duo, and we worked together a ton. I learned a lot from him. And then that kind of opened doors to other opportunities for me with filming. And then in 2021, I made the jump to full time and just kind of had my own business, started getting my own clients, things like that in SoCal. And then in 2022, Jacob called me and was just like, hey, Jacob and I, we played football in college. So we already had a really good relationship and know each other. Jacob Parga.
He played football in college?
Yeah.
What? I didn't know that.
He was our long snapper at University of Oliveira.
Damn, that's what George was.
Yeah. Hey, there we go.
He was a long snapper at UNLV.
Long snappers of love. But he called me and was just like, hey, do you want to film Brandon Moreno?
I'm like, oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Like, I had already had experience filming with fighters. somebody that he represented through Iridium was Jalen Turner, the Tarantula.
Yeah. Because I would say you guys are like good friends.
He's one of my close friends.
Yeah.
Him and I started working together at the end of 2019. Because his strength conditioning coach was somebody that I knew through college. He helped train me in the off seasons, things like that. Kind of, I guess, rewinding a little bit with it, and worked with Jalen, and him and I just hit it off really well. Started playing Call of Duty together, like built this friendship. And Jacob just asked me like, hey, can you take on, sponsored content for him? So that way he's getting all his deliverables, things like that. It was fun. Every time I filmed with Jalen, it was just like we were hanging out. And so that kind of built up a little bit of a portfolio working with MMA fighters. And then obviously having a UFC fighter on your portfolio looks really good. So when he called me about Brandon, I was like, yeah, let's do it. And that put me in contact with Roobet. And from there did the shoot. We built a really good relationship, did a couple more shoots with Roobet. And then they asked me if I wanted to come in full time and just basically run everything on the creative side with productions for them, and joined them back in June of 2022. So we're almost at 3.5 years.
So you were with them relatively shortly when we met then.
Yeah.
Because I think we started beginning of 2023.
2023, yeah. So I was probably 6, maybe 7 months in before.
Already crushing it. Okay.
I had already taken over basically. And anything that had to do with production, even still to this day, is all ran through me.
Because I think there was 2 people I ever talked to at Roobet, and one of them I think his name was Andy.
Yeah.
And I think he was just payment.
Yeah.
And like, even then it was like not even me. It was just like, hey, who do I give emails to?
Yeah.
But it was you really and still to this day, I haven't worked with Roobet since Brandon's show, but you're still the only one that I really communicate with.
Yeah. And it's been crazy. It's been awesome working with them. For me, these last 3.5 years has definitely been the most growth for me as a filmmaker. Just because they trust me. Like my vision, they're like, all right, let's do it. And I'll tell them, hey, I want to try this. I don't know if it's going to work, but here's my thought process, and with everything I do, I storyboard it, the pre-production, all that stuff. So even though it's just an idea I want to try, I have a lot of things that are already laid out. And like I just did a launch video. We launched our partnership with Nadeshot. And so if you're a gamer or anything like that, like, Nadeshot is, and I wanted to do, I forget the director's name, and now I feel so bad for it, but he has the smash cut style. Did it in Shaun of the Dead, and a couple other films, but I've never done a smash cut type of, filming, editing, anything like that. So is it done in camera? Is it done in post? I can do it either way, but how do I want to do it? And so I built it out, told them my idea. They all loved it. Nadeshot wanted to do it. He liked it. And I set up my camera in my office and just test shot everything. Basically recreated the entire launch video in my office and then sent it to them and said, hey, here's what it's going to look like. We'll have better lighting, better location, but this is what we're going to do. And
that's what you do.
Yeah. And that's just kind of how I've evolved through everything, is all the freedom they've given me. I have a lot of good friends in my corner that teach me a lot as well. Especially with trying to get into some of the bigger production commercial set type of things. From never going to film school or anything, trying to learn as much as I can or pick up pieces. I have a good friend, Hui, out in Arizona. He works a lot with like Arizona camera rentals and things along those lines.
Nice.
And so he gives me a lot of feedback, a lot of tips, and we run things through each other and stuff like that. And, it's been a lot of help. So it's been a very uncanny path to get to where I am now.
I don't think there is a canny path anymore though. Like I'm only in, like I said, I'm only in film school because I just want to finish out and just say I did it.
Yeah.
And I got an FX6 out of it. But like,
It's true.
I would argue that there are some things I'm taking away from film school, but like George didn't go to film school. George he was a teacher out of college. Like he straight up taught at high school out of college. Him and I think we just learned basically the same way as you, just by doing and just being in an environment.
YouTube University.
Yeah. Well, I think it was YouTube University for sure. And then also it was just like, we kind of, for a little while had the same kind of thing where it was just like, hey, we want to do this. And the team that we were with was like, all right, cool, go for it. And we were like, okay. But so I want to get to something you just said about filming with fighters, because I think we film fighters very differently, because that's kind of our common ground as fighters. Like I've filmed a few fighters. My most recent one is she's already a podcast client of mine, but now I'm doing kind of more, and she's actually fighting, depending on when this comes out, she might have already done her power slap match, but Destiny McCubbin. And so I find it very interesting that you storyboarded out and everything. Cause when I go, I'm treating it more as like I'm a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
I'm just getting I'll get warm-ups, I'll get practice, I'll get them talking to the camera, how they're feeling. But walk me through that in terms of why you choose to storyboard with fighters.
So it just depends ultimately on what the project is, I guess you could say, with them, or what the deliverable is. If I'm doing just a social video, then I'm not going to pre-production, things like that. Like,
Sure.
One of the most recent social only videos I did was for Elvis Brenner when he was getting ready to fight. And that was a couple months ago. I went and just filmed his weight cut. Right. And so it was like, okay, how do you make a weight cut, entertaining, enticing, anything along those lines? So I shot it on anamorphic because, in my opinion, anamorphic just looks so much better.
Why not? Yeah. Why not shoot on anamorphic?
Yeah. And like, I wanted to challenge myself. I went with a small rig. I went with my FX3 and C-Ray Venus.
I still need to get one of those. Yeah.
50 mil T2.9. And was just like, all right, I want to capture, the essence of the weight cut. I want you to feel like you are here being a part of this. I personally don't like hype edits, a lot of flashes, quick cuts, which is very much the social trend right now. I think there is a time and place for it, and you will see me do it sometimes, especially if it is requested.
But it's not your
it's
thing.
It's not my niche. I like more of the storytelling. I want you to feel some type of emotion from it. And so with that, no storyboard, but with Charles, when he fought Ilya, I did a whole fight week short doc for him.
Yeah.
And that was something that I did, I did full pre-production. I made sure interview questions were set up so that I could push it in the direction I wanted to go. I did a whole video treatment. Now, obviously with those, not everything got followed. But I know already from that, I already knew the music that was going to drive it. So when I was filming, I knew, hey, this is going to be a little bit more of the emotional part. This is going to be more of the build up, It just makes it a little bit easier because my turnaround was that Sunday. So he fought Saturday night. We had footage from the previous Saturday leading all the way up to the fight on Saturday that had to be edited and compiled. And then the doc goes live
when did
Sunday.
you edit? Did you edit daily as you went? You kind of just got your dailies and then go
Thursday and Friday. See,
and then this man here, before we start recording, goes, how did you edit your movie so fast? And I told him, I was like, if you write it, direct it, and edit it, it doesn't take as long as you think.
But I think movie, and again, just my brain, I think movie is different than doc style.
But they're the same thing. It's just a different form of the art.
I think you can get away with a bit more doc style because it's a bit more raw and what I quote unquote authentic, where movie is more of that highly produced. And again, it's all user taste, how the director wants to be seen, etc. But that's, like I said, when you think of movie or you hear the term movie, it's normally, a 6 month, 7 month type of ordeal to where you turn around and do it in a week. Like it's a fast turnaround.
I want to say for the short film, which still is not out yet. We're still playing on the festival circuits. Like we're going to submit it to Sundance. We're going to send it to Tribeca, Cannes. Cause why not? I might even just say fuck it and send a VHS to Steven Spielberg's house and just be like, hey, what you think? We can do something, but that film. So we filmed it Sunday, and it was almost a 12-hour day. We got here at 10 a.m. to get equipment. We went to the location, and then we started. I think we got there around noon. First shot started rolling at 1:30.
Okay,
and then we wrapped production at 7 p.m. that night. I had it fully edited in terms of picture lock Tuesday night.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, but it's a 4-minute movie, and I had already written it. I wrote the script. I storyboarded it. I did the shot list,
and everything's intentional. So you know exactly from what you're shooting to how it's going to play out, which is, I think, super beneficial in that.
Yeah,
I think if I were to go shoot a doc with a fighter to where it's not fight week, then it would be that. I would have the full pre-production. I would know exactly how I want everything to be. I don't know if you know Danny Gervitz at all.
No.
I pronounce his last name right. But he's an amazing filmmaker. And he does a bunch of stuff on YouTube and everything. And he actually, I need to watch it still, but he made his first full length, film. I think it's called I Think I'm Sick. From what I heard, it was great. I still personally need to watch it, but he just did a kind of short film with an Olympic Taekwondo. What is I think that's what the Olympic
I think
point fight. I think it's Taekwondo. Yeah. But that was like, hey, we're going to go film. We're going to go do this.
Yeah.
Everything was planned except for his training. The training, you're flying the wall. You're capturing certain shots, getting things that you know is going to fit.
But I think if you have enough, so like, for example, with the power slap, with that shoot that I did, and I'll show this on screen too. When I was doing that, it was very much so, and she was great too. She also knew what she wanted. She was like, okay, I want you to film me looking at me as I'm doing this workout. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, if I find it much easier if the fighter, granted, I also want the fighter to focus on fighting.
Yeah.
But like when I filmed Shane Shapiro, who's one of the main jiu-jitsu coaches, and he had a tough enough fight coming up with him, I was just like, I'm just going to follow you during your training today.
Yeah.
But I didn't have anything like pre-planned out. And I think I prefer to go that way just to kind of let it speak to me, but I might have to adopt the way you're doing it.
It's definitely, like I said, depending on what it is. When Charles trains, it's fully, hey, I'm just, whatever he's doing, I'm shooting and capturing. I have an idea in my mind of, I want these tight shots. I want these wide shots.
Right.
Doing actual, fight week stuff, I've been doing now for probably 3 years with them. I've shot with Brandon Moreno, Chito Vera, Alex Pereira, Charles Oliveira, like a lot of the big time UFC guys. And
your content looks really great. What I really love that you do when you're done is you post, like, it's almost, it's like what films do. It's like, here's all my favorite shots.
Yeah. I love showing frames because for me, when I see somebody's frame is like, one, it's great, but then I break it down of like, how did you get that? What's the framing? The colors, all this stuff. And it's exactly that. You see it and again, going back to it is like, I want to depict some type of emotion, some type of mood from it. Whether it's happy, sad, whatever it is, there's something behind it. And at the end of the day, like, these fighters go through so much that doesn't get seen. A lot of the times people love you because you win, and then the minute you lose, they hate you.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, like, these are all human beings. They all have lives. A majority of them all have families. And like, they're going in there and, love Charles to death. Watching him get knocked out by Ilya was absolutely heartbreaking. And it's like, you really only feel that way when you know them, or you are a deep enough fan. But the other people then immediately, oh, I love Charles, he gets knocked out. Charles is washed, he needs to retire. Like, so it's trying to show more of the story. And again, luckily for his doc, this was my third kind of short doc that I'd ever shot. And his was the first one that I really did a full pre-production on. My very first short film doc, you can kind of call it, I did with one of my friends, Conan. He's a professional fighter. On the fight that we did, he fought through King of the Cage.
Okay.
This was back in 2021, I believe. And I just had no idea what I was doing.
Sure.
I was in over my head. Nothing was planned. I was just capturing things and then trying to create a story, trying to create a moment of some sort. And it didn't work. I learned a lot from it, which is great. We had posted it, we had put everything out there, but I look back on it now and I'm like, which majority of the work I look back at that I shot before and I'm just like, I can't believe at the time I thought this was, great.
I think we all have that though. I think you go back and you look and you're like, all right. I mean, it's good, but knowing what you know now, you're like, I would have redone that 8 times over.
Exactly. And then the second one was Brandon Moreno as he prepared to fight Figgy for their 4th fight in Rio, where he ended up winning the belt back. That was
got trash thrown at him, and
that
was right, because I started working with him on the tail end of that fight.
Yeah,
because I remember talking to him and he had the belt, and then I remember being with him up until he lost the belt to Pantoja.
Yeah,
which I don't know if George was there for that one, but I knew he watched it because I remember all the sticky pot. Because we had him, we had Ode, we had a couple of other, and it was like always nerve wracking to like with your point with Charles.
Anybody that you meet,
it's like I don't even want to watch him fight anymore.
It's a completely different aspect to watching that. But with his fight, we went into that camp and I talked to his manager, Jason House, and told him, this is kind of my idea. I want to showcase a little bit more than just Brandon fighting. Obviously that is the meat of this, but interviewed Jason, interviewed his coaches, things like that, to kind of see how do they feel about Brandon? What does Brandon mean to them? And Brandon ended up tearing his knee in that camp that nobody knew about. And I had it filmed, and I just thankfully kept the camera rolling. And so after the fight where, he won, thankfully, Ariel Helwani picked up the video and had it on his podcast talking about it, because a lot of people will go in and fight. And then, after the fight, I had this injury, I had this, I had that. Brandon never said anything, and we had it on film. So it's like, you saw the injury happen. You saw them treating everything. You saw him when he trained after that, getting his knee taped. Like, to me, that is when I really fell in love with, documentary style. Yeah. Is like, this is all happening, and I have all of this. Like,
yeah, it's like, I'm the guy now.
Yeah. Like, it's not even so much of like, oh, like, I'm that guy. It's just like, hey, like, you're trusting me to tell your story. And like, I just captured something that majority of people are probably getting told no. And even some of his coaches came up to me and they were like, hey, cut the camera. Like, don't show it. Don't do this. And I talked to Jason and just said, hey, like, we have something here. And if Brandon wins, like, now it's even bigger.
Yeah, now it's like he overcame this to win.
And that's exactly what it was. And it turned out to be. But looking at that doc, there was a lot of things that I didn't get to film. And I take on myself, I should have pushed a little more. I didn't get to show Brandon more, at his home, interacting with his family, things like that, that there's parts when you watch it where all of a sudden it's footage and then it cuts to, 4 weeks out. And then it goes back to footage. Like, it's just these weird cuts that at the time I didn't know what I was doing fully, and I didn't have the footage to fill in. And so coming into Charles's fight week, I would do, with his other fight weeks, daily episodes. So I'd film all day with him and then stay up till 3, 4 in the morning editing. It would go live that day, and then we're right into filming the next episode that same day.
So you're basically just doing daily vlog. They're not vlogs, but just on a daily schedule.
Fight week, yeah. And I would try and make it as enticing as possible to watch.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, if you have one of them, you could spend all week on it.
Thank you.
But if you are doing it, every day, like this was something that I had to get over at the first studio that I had to learn is perfect is good, but done is better. Yeah. And at a certain point, it's like, I'm sure we could all take our projects and just nitpick them to death for centuries. But what's the point if it's never going to be shown to anybody?
And I think too, that's the going off the same thing, like, done is better. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it is, because now I can go back, and I always do whereas I think maybe because of, my past with football, you'd watch film. It's like, I'll go back and I'll watch those videos and see, like, okay, now looking at it, what would I change? How would I shoot it differently? How would I edit it differently? And then I take that into the next one. And I mean, I'm not sitting there watching all of them, but if I know, like, again, Charles I've shot with for over 3 years now, I have a very good relationship with him and his team. How can I do this slightly different? Yeah. And I think coming into his fight against Ilya made a difference, because I brought out one of my really good friends, Jesus. I met him back in 2020. We were doing 7-on-7 football tournaments around the country, and we ended up just connecting and became really good friends. So brought him out to Vegas, had him help second shoot. I gave him my entire idea of the video with editing, had him as the main editor, and just sat there with him basically and said, hey, let's do it this way. Let's do this, let's do that. And he brought my entire vision to life of what I wanted. And 100% couldn't have done it without him, because it gave me so much more flexibility during fight week. Is like, hey, I have this relationship with Charles and everybody. I'm going to be on a 50 mil, a little bit tighter up, and in the octagon with them in their face. I want you to be, or no, he was on the 50 mil. Sorry. I was on the 35 mil, but I could be closer to them to where you're going to be a little bit more on the outside on a tighter shot. And we were able to cut back and forth with those shots compared to, being a one-man band that I have been. And you're trying to capture as much as you can, but all of a sudden, if you go wide, something might happen where it's a lot better if you're tighter. Like, now we had both of those angles covered. Yeah. And I think that was something that was big. And then with this fight week as well, was bringing in the interviews. Normally I always, during, fight weeks, would just, how Charles, how are you feeling? How's this? Same thing with Diego, his coach. But now being able to actually set them up for an interview, having a second shooter there to help me with everything. I had Isaac there as well, Isaac Sandoval. He was kind of my production assistant through the week. And then Felipe, he speaks Portuguese, which obviously helps a ton.
Great, you're on the crew immediately.
Yeah, like he comes with me to a lot of fight weeks with Charles because of that. Yeah. Same thing, like first time shooting with Alex Pereira. I made the mistake of speaking Portuguese to him to where he now thinks he thought I could fully speak it.
And that's a man I don't think I could tell him like, I don't speak.
Yeah.
Like,
I just told him like, I only know
my lineage if I tell him I don't speak.
He's probably the most intimidating fighter I've ever
But he's probably like super nice though.
Super nice.
Yeah. Like,
great guy. His entire team
just wouldn't want to get punched by him.
No, his hands are massive.
Which is funny because the gym that I train at is where Khalil goes to.
Yeah.
And he came back from that fight and he just, he looked beat up, but he stood on his shield on that one.
Exactly. 100%.
So
it gained him a lot of respect from people, new fans, all of that. I mean, you never want to see somebody go out in any bad way. A lot of fans, they want to see the violence aspect of it. But when you're in the fight world, you don't want that.
Yeah.
But exactly that. He stood on his shield. And for me, I was like, hey, I'd seen you fight before, but like now I'm a fan because
I became a fan of him with the Ultimate Fighter when he kicked a dude in the ribs when he was on he was like down, he just kicks him, sock kicks him. But so I want to now ask you, what is the equipment you're using regularly? Like what's in your normal rotation for, let's just say, your everyday video shoots?
I think it just depends on the shoot itself. Ultimately, two cameras is what I run with.
Okay.
So Sony FX6, that if I'm doing anything that's just social wise, majority of the time I'm shooting with that. It's a smaller build, not as heavy. Anything that I'm doing that's going to be used for production, marketing assets, or short film, anything like those, I'm using Sony FX6.
So why? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but it's pretty much the same sensor, same color science between the two. Why the FX6 for more production?
The biggest thing is just how I can build it out.
Okay.
Obviously, the one thing that it has that the FX3 doesn't is internal NDs.
That is
fantastic,
great.
Especially being with these fighters fight week. Lights are always changing. You really have no control. And then they both have the dual ISO, but being able to just quickly switch 12,800 and then hit the ND is super simple. So that, and then also, like I said, building it out. I have Sennheiser MKE 600 is my main mic I use on it. And then I have it built to where everything is handheld. So I have enough weight to it to where I'm comfortable. It doesn't have in-body stabilization, but it's not super shaky for me.
Right.
So I can just trust everything with it. And then I can build my FX3 the same exact way, but it's going to take me, 12, 13, 14 different parts. Or I just picked up the Cineback for it to build it out, which is fantastic. But I'm like, I have the FX6. I'm going to use this. And from an optics perspective, if you see somebody walking in with an FX3 in their hand or an FX6, if you know nothing about cameras, realistically, the FX6 looks like it's a little bit
and I get
professional.
That because last year I made more money filming on my phone than I did with an FX6.
Yeah.
By far, like it was just more run and gun, just more people wanted social quick. But I do agree, like to be like us in this room, we understand that like your FX3 is capable of shooting everything that this FX6 is shooting.
Yeah, 100%.
Without any doubt, it can hold its own. I think it was used on a production too, like a full film.
Oh my God, I forget.
I always forget it too, but it was used as a camera on a
Netflix. It was right when Netflix approved the FX3s to be used for productions. It's going to bug me. It's the something. And I watched it and it was a great film, and seeing what the FX3 can do was insane. Yeah.
But walking into a room with an FX6, I don't want to say I get more respect, but people are like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
If I walk with my phone, they're like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. It's
filming.
100% an optics thing.
Yeah.
And I learned that like freelancing if I came in with an FX3, or at the time I was using an A7 III, but I had it rigged out, people were like, oh, dang. And then if I came in with just the A7 III and a shotgun mic on it, they're like, oh, all right, well, this is what we're spending money on. Like, it's all
and then they get the edit and they're like, oh, I guess we did. Okay. We got something out of it.
It's purely optics at that point. I feel like if it's people that know nothing about cameras or anything, which sucks, but at the end of the day, if I have an FX3 and an FX6, I'm gonna use my FX6 when I can and it feels right.
Yeah, I was just telling you off camera, I use my A7 III way more than my FX6, and it kind of irks me. Yeah. But it's just because I can't do stills on the FX6 and I can on the A7 III, but I can also still record. I don't know if I want the FX2
I've thought about it. I've thought about it because of the stills aspect.
Yeah, because it's like the megapixel count is way higher than like because the 3 can technically take stills.
3 can take stills. I think it's I could be wrong. It's either 12 or 16 megapixels. It's one of the two. And it's not bad. I've taken stills with it, especially when it's just social. Nobody knows.
Yeah, you're not blowing it up to be on a billboard.
You're not pixel peeping everything. Like it's a social media photo.
Yeah.
Nobody knows with it. And I've used it to take product shots, like all that stuff. It looks good. And I have no problem shooting with it. If that's the only camera I have, we went to San Francisco back in April and I snagged a bunch of photos with it. But again, now if I'm going to use it for marketing assets, banners, things like that, billboards, like I'm not shooting on an FX3 at all.
Unless it's the video aspect.
Exactly.
All right, but I guess at that point, then you'd use the FX6. So are you more of like a prime guy or a zoom guy with your lenses?
It depends on the project.
Okay.
With Charles's Fight Week doc that we did, I shot everything on Cine lenses.
Okay.
So I picked up the Sire Vision Prime 1 Cine lenses that they'd come out with. And everything in that doc, 98% of it was shot with those lenses, a 35 mil and a 50 mil.
Okay.
I used the 24 mil only for maybe 2 or 3 shots. And then I used Sony 7200G Master only for the press conference because I was obviously sitting out in the crowd.
You're in the press area.
But when he did his weigh-ins with Ilya that night, I shot it on a 35 prime.
Wow.
Like everything. I don't know. I like the way that the Cine lenses look so much more.
Yeah.
But
are they autofocus or are you pulling focus?
Pulling focus the whole time. Run and gun.
I tried that on I just had a video come out today for a client, and the first few shots I had the Helios 44-2.
Yeah.
Just kitted out on the FX6 and I was like, all right, I'll try this. And I have peaking on and everything. And I'm like, damn, my arm's kind of tired. I don't want to be doing it. So then I just popped the 24-70 back on and I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to.
Yeah, I think it's all looks wise. And like, I really wanted to challenge myself with it. I shot autofocus from the moment I picked up a camera, probably until
that shoot.
Like,
almost.
No, probably till like a year and a half ago.
Right.
But it's just like, I don't know, manual focus. I know exactly what I want to be focused at and I can be at it. I can nail it all the time. And there's times where I miss it sometimes. Like I had a shot I really liked of Charles when we were driving to training and I was sat in the back seat with him. Beautiful shot, slightly missed focus. But it was enough that I knew that it didn't make the cut.
Which is crazy because like there was a shot of the film and I'm like, it's a great take. I think I'm okay with him being a little soft in the focus. Like it wasn't like we would know, but like to the average person, they're going to be like, it's a cool shot.
Yeah.
Like it's great.
I just knew because exactly like I said, like I went to do my selects from that day just to show frames. And I was like, it's out of focus. Didn't use it as a frame, nothing. And it was a great shot, composition on it, everything. I was so happy with it. And it was because we were in the car. I couldn't fully see the monitor.
Yeah.
And it looked like, okay, we're good. And
are you rocking the kit monitor on it, or do you have like
I have that on there, but I run before I was running the Shinobi Atomos 5-inch, but I just switched to a Viltrox 7-inch monitor.
Okay.
And it's been solid. A little bit of learning curve when I got it compared to the Shinobi, but it has more on it that I like. I don't think my Shinobi had false colors. I could be wrong, but I believe it didn't, and this one does, which is really nice to have.
Okay. So explain what that is for anybody who isn't aware of what false colors are.
It's just a way to make sure that exposure is right throughout the shot. So making sure like skin tones are properly exposed, things like that. Obviously, when you're setting up lighting and everything, it's a lot easier. But when you're out just run and gun for everything that Fight Week stuff is, like trying to make sure that you're properly exposed is the biggest thing. So switching to false color real quick to check on it and then going back to see what the image looks like is super helpful. It's not something that I personally use all the time, but just having that in my back pocket is like 100% amazing.
Yeah. See, for me, like, I mean, I'm not doing all, cause I'm just using the standard Sony lens or monitor on it, but I'm just running everything zebra and peaking.
Which is, I mean, it's good. I use that. I went on tour with Snoop Dogg in
no big fucking deal. Just I went on tour with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. I went on tour with him through his Australia and New Zealand and a little bit of Europe back in 2023, the beginning of 2023. And that was my first time using the FX6. I got that camera specifically for that tour.
Okay.
So I shot everything on the monitor it came with. And like I said, it's not bad. It's just small. And I think that's why I like having
what, like a 3-inch monitor,
something like that. So having the other monitor is just, it's nice to see the image bigger. I can't imagine trying to pull focus on that little monitor.
Oh, I was.
Oh no.
But also like
it has peaking, and it looks good, but again, it's so small.
Yeah.
I prefer having the bigger monitor to know like, hey, focus is good here. Like I don't have to worry about it.
Like for my film, we had a dedicated focus pull. Like for my first AC had his own monitor.
Yeah. Which is amazing.
Yeah.
To have that on.
Like the monitor I was using as cam op because I was DP on it and I was still cam opping. And then he's over here with his own huge ass fucking monitor. And I was like, it must be nice. But I'm glad you can see focus. And then he was doing remote focus pulling.
Yeah. Which is great because you don't have to worry much when you're cam mopping. It's making sure your framing is what you want. Everything is good. And then, well,
we had some moving shots. So that was a little touch and go. And like, that's like a weird thing where like, it's almost like running plays where it's almost like, we're going to run this route really quick where we need to make sure we can keep focused the entire time. Why do you prefer shooting on Sony? Because you said earlier you used a Nikon when you first were vlogging. Have you tried Canon? Have you tried anything else? Or was it just Sony? Is it like me where like my first camera, believe it or not, years ago was an FX6. And so I was like, all right, I love Sony.
I think that's kind of to an extent of where it is. I'm super open to try other cameras, things like that. I want to, like, I really want to try the Pixis 12K. I really want to try Red Komodo. There's a lot of things that I want to experiment with just to get the knowledge and understand the kind of system of how it works. But yeah, my first camera that I used when I started like fitness stuff was a GoPro. And then when that kind of corrupted, I had a warranty on it still, so I got money back from Best Buy and got a Nikon Coolpix, and that was my vlog camera. I wanted a Sony, but they didn't have it. And then on day 13, it was literally I think the last day of my time to return it, I found a Sony A5000 at a different Best Buy, and I drove 30 minutes home, got the camera, and then drove back to that Best Buy and swapped it out for the A5000. And then I just stayed with Sony ever since because I know the menus. The camera is so easy for me to operate. My buddy a couple years ago had gotten the Canon. I don't even remember Canon, something 80, C80 maybe it was. It wasn't the cinema camera. Oh, okay. It was I don't know. It was some Canon something 80, but it was just like the photo camera. Peter McKinnon had it at the time. And I grabbed
so that means like a million other people got that camera
because of him.
Yeah.
That's exactly what my buddy had got it. We were watching Peter McKinnon at the time, learning all that stuff. And when I got into the menus, I was like, it's like a foreign language here.
Which is funny because everybody talks about how good the Canon menus are.
Exactly.
But then when like, I think we just got thrown into the deep end. It's like, I learned on Premiere. So like I go to like DaVinci and I'm like, what? And even though it's like, and even like Final Cut, and I've looked at Final Cut and I'm like,
Final Cut I can't learn. I started on when I started first in vlogs, I was on Windows Movie Maker.
The real OG started on Movie Maker.
That's where it was. And then I got a MacBook Air and I switched to iMovie.
I used iMovie.
I did the free trial that Apple gave you for Final Cut, and I couldn't figure out Save My Life.
Which is funny because you went from iMovie to, which is like supposed to be like a seamless, like,
I think it was just because there was so much more that I was able to do that it just like threw me for a loop.
Like paralysis of choice.
Yeah. And I wasn't like really filming at that time. It was still just shitty vlogs I was making of myself. So I wasn't trying to learn all this stuff. I just wanted to cut it up, make it look good. I was shooting in, the standard profile in the camera. I knew nothing about log. And then when I started getting into actual shooting and wanting to learn more, I jumped into Premiere. And then I hated Premiere. I couldn't color grade in it. I was so bad at it. And my Premiere would always shut down on me in the middle of projects.
I still think I can count on like two hands the amount of times I've been editing professionally for almost 6 years now at this point. I think I can count on two hands the amount of times it's crashed on me.
No.
On both Windows and PC.
I would probably need like 10 other people in
What are you guys doing? What are you guys fucking doing with your Premiere projects? That
it didn't matter if I was editing on a full gaming PC. It didn't matter if I was on a MacBook.
I will say most of them would be on the gaming PC that I used to have.
Yeah.
On Mac, it works a little bit better. But
they would just crash me. They crashed the worst times. And so then I just started always saving. Saving.
Always.
And then 2023 summer, I was like, I'm gonna start DaVinci for just like personal content that I make, And then as I learn it, I'll jump into it for like work projects. And then I just stopped making personal content at the time. And so I was like, fuck it. I'm going to just do all of my actual work in DaVinci and force myself to learn it. And I feel like I've just evolved so much more on the editing side of things from being in DaVinci. I'm a lot more confident color grading now. I just feel like editing is better. Just the whole, in my opinion, workflow of the system is a lot smoother and laid out.
See, you're the second person in the last few days to tell me that.
Yeah.
With DaVinci, which is funny because I actually used DaVinci way back before I was editing professionally for like school projects. I don't know if I'm ready to make a jump, especially because like a lot of like my editing team is all remote.
Yeah.
So I prefer to just, hey, I want you to edit this, but don't export it. Just send me back the project file. Cause I just send them all the files and then they don't add anything really. And then that way I can go in there and just do whatever I need to. Yeah. Which I'm sure DaVinci probably works the same way.
Yeah, you can. So if
just
I
send
know
a project file.
Before I was editing, like my home setup was a Mac Mini Studio or whatever, Mac Mini. And
Goated.
then I would work on a MacBook Pro, or now I have the M4 MacBook Air, which in my opinion shits on my MacBook M1 Pro. And people still, I'll see like, oh, this is great for me. My MacBook Air destroys my M1, like to this day.
Yeah, M1's. I still feel like if you have an M chip now, you're still pretty.
It's still pretty good. Yeah, but the
like
stuttering I'll get in certain projects on that, I don't get on the M4 MacBook Air. And
which is crazy because it's Air. Because I'm using an M3 Max MacBook Pro.
Then you're chilling.
Yeah, that was one of the like last year when George and I left the studio we were at. I also had a car accident injury settlement come in, and so I was like, okay, well, and I was using a 2019 MacBook Pro, and it would like green screen on me.
Yeah,
and I was like, what the fuck is this happening? Like, and this wasn't even a Premiere issue. It was just like the MacBook was just so old.
Yeah.
And so I remember I was like, I'm gonna have to like spend some big boy money now. And I think I went to the Apple store and I almost maxed it out. Like I got the M3 Max and I think I got 32 gigs of RAM.
Oh, then yeah.
But I've maybe had one issue with Premiere not being able to handle something. And I think it was because I had too many Chrome tabs open too at the same time as Premiere.
Trying to run everything.
Yeah, but I can MXFs. I don't have to use proxies. I don't have to do anything. So it's been nice.
That's a nice thing too with it. And then going back to the file aspect is I can just export my DaVinci project, throw it on my SSD, and then go to my MacBook Air if I want to go edit at a coffee shop or I'm traveling.
Right.
And just throw that project into DaVinci and everything's there. As long as I have all the files still, which again, they all live on my SSD anyways, then
but Premiere does the same thing too though.
See, the only issue I've ran into, and again, this is from Premiere to DaVinci, was my buddy Jesus. He's a Premiere guy. Yeah. I've been telling him, go to DaVinci, go to DaVinci.
He hasn't seen the light yet.
No, he keeps wanting to, but his same thing. He's comfortable in Premiere.
I think I'm like, because I do get it. I do get the whole aspect of like, I'm only going to have to, 300 one time for the full version.
I think
but you can do 90% of what you need to on the free version.
I think I spent 400 but
that was one time.
That's because I got the DaVinci Speed editor with it. So it's like the little, got different keys, but basically I can use it to just cut all my selects really fast and it's just nice to have. And then the DaVinci comes with the speed editor.
Yeah, that's their way of like, oh, you bought this huge piece of equipment. All right, I guess
no, exactly. Software. And so that's why I was like, I've always wanted some type of tool to help with editing. Yeah. And so I was like, this is going to be kind of that crossover.
We have the color grade like
I
panel.
want that one.
We have it somewhere here, but
I just don't want to invest in it. That's the thing. It's so expensive.
Yeah, it's super expensive.
But yeah, so he edited everything in Premiere for Charles's doc for the fight week. And then we put it over to DaVinci so that I could color grade everything. Right. And that's when I realized, and we could have done it wrong because again, we're editing late Thursday night, late Friday night.
Yeah, this is very rushed and probably everybody's tired from fight camp.
They're long days, long nights. We're averaging maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep a day, and then being with them all day capturing.
And you're pulling focus. Why do you, what do you put it on difficulty insane? Like what?
It's fun though. It's a challenge.
It's fun for you, maybe.
I enjoy it. Like I said, every project I try and have some type of challenge for myself.
The next one he's going to be like, all right, I'm going to film Charles Oliveira while eating the world's hottest chip.
Well,
he's going to say he already did it too. He's going to be like, I already did it.
I'll tell you the next challenge after. But bringing the Premiere over to DaVinci, I noticed that it did have some effects on the timeline when it came to cross dissolves, things like that. So actually in our final copy that had gone live, it messed up one of the slow motion shots. We took a stock footage of the strip and we did like an optical flow to slow it down. Yeah. Well, it ended up not transferring the optical flow over. So in the final, and again, because we were so tired, we didn't see it, that clip was choppy because it wasn't a true slow motion.
Oh, no.
It was shot in 60 or 120. And then because of the cross dissolves, there's a part where Charles goes from training to then the sauna. And in the original edit, it switches to more of like the emotional type of feel because now you can tell he's sweating. He's, getting all his water sucked out of him basically. And you can hear in the background punching and shit still happening from the octagon. And it was the most painful thing to watch back come Monday. So we finished editing the video at 3 a.m. Sunday morning after the fight.
And the fight was Saturday night.
Yeah.
Okay.
So left the arena.
Where was that here?
It was here in Vegas.
Okay.
So we left T-Mobile probably, 10:30 maybe. Got back to the Airbnb at 11:15 ish.
Now you live here, correct?
Here, yeah.
So did you do an Airbnb because like the team was there?
So we got an Airbnb for Charles and the team, and then I got an Airbnb for me and my team basically.
Damn.
So we could be together.
I have an upcoming gig finally where they're gonna like actually fly or give me like accommodation. It's like that
100%. I think even with me living out here, like it's just easier because I can sit there and I talked with Jesus like, hey, today he knew nothing. He'd never been shot a fight week, never been at a fight week, anything. So I'm not telling him kind of what's going to happen, what the plan is, how things are going to be. If for some reason UFC tells you, hey, you can't be there, I'm going to capture all this, so this is what we'll have for the video. Like it was a very teamwork type of aspect. And so being able to go back to the Airbnb and being like, hey, dump your footage. How does it look? What are you thinking? Let's pull our selects so we know. But yeah, we went to the Airbnb. I saw Charles after the fight, all that. I was there probably at midnight, made sure that he was good. Everything was good. Talked to the team. Got back to our Airbnb again, probably about 12:45 in the morning. And then we finished the edit by about 2 or 3 a.m. And then that video went live at 9 a.m. Sunday morning. So yeah, I wish that, would have fully watched through all of it again.
Sure.
But sadly we didn't. But for my copy, it's all fixed. So what's on my website is the proper version. For my portfolio,
it's the right version. For the client, it's just, I just gave them what I had.
Which, I mean, it sucks, but that's the downside of such fast turnarounds with everything happening and being such a minimal team. I think, if there's one person that is only editing, that wouldn't get caught. And again, it's just more attention to detail. And now I know next time, even if I'm tired, I'm going to watch the video twice to make sure that it's good.
Now, did it have to be up Sunday morning? I get it because like it's really quick because the fight happened. But was that like a client, like a deliverable obligation, or is that just you wanted
a bit of both?
Okay.
The biggest thing is like if Charles won that fight, people are going to be searching for him at least for the next week. If he lost that fight, the search word is mainly going to be Ilya. And how long is Ilya going to be searched for?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never worked with him. I don't know how his stardom is. I know he's big. But it was, hey, we need to capitalize on as much attention as possible, showcase anything. Thankfully, during Charles's camp during fight week, nothing happened. So it wasn't like a Brandon situation where it was like, hey, we have this kind of gold mine where Charles, messed up his elbow or something like that. Knock on wood. Hopefully that doesn't happen.
We're definitely not wishing that on Charles.
But like, there's nothing there that has that element. So it's like, hey, let's just showcase what he went through, how his weight cut was, all of this. And hopefully it gets picked up with just the algorithm and people pushing it. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's, we want to get it. If all of a sudden I wait, which, for myself, I posted the doc a week and a half ago, maybe on my own personal, and, it's not really generating views because Charles isn't being searched for UFC 317.
Right.
He's being searched for Fight Night in Rio,
Yeah.
So it's hard is trying to make sure the keywords is there, SEO is there, all that stuff. So you want to get it out as fast as possible. But yeah, I don't know. He's just try and do it. Try and capture, the spark while it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a couple more questions for you before we wrap up. What would you, because I've asked you this question even just as professionals, what would you tell somebody if they want to start filming fighters?
Definitely just get in the space. If you have a local gym, anything, I wouldn't immediately go to somebody and be like, I want to work with, Charles.
Like I went to Syndicate and been like, yeah, can I film Marab? Like,
exactly.
He has his own guy.
Want to be building, a relationship with the gym or the owner and things like that, and start working there, filming amateur fighters, or pro fighters that are on King of the Cage or Tough Enough or whatever, and start building your portfolio that way. And at the end of the day, if your work starts to speak for itself, then the gym is going to start putting you with those guys. Or if, Marab has somebody, well, what if his guy can't be there? Well, Marab's probably seen stuff that's being shot through Syndicate or with other fighters. Right. So now you might get called up to come do this. Or a company might reach out to you because they're now working with a fighter and you happen to have a portfolio that you shot fighters.
And the company doesn't want to do it themselves. That's why they hire somebody like you to be like, oh, hey, we know you can do it. Just do it for us.
Exactly. And, that can lead to multiple other options or opportunities. I would just fully go in, try and build a relationship, try and talk to. If they say, hey, sorry, we already have somebody, whatever it may be, then reach out to
go to their
fighters.
Rival gym.
Yeah,
if you're like, they said no to me.
But reach out to, smaller fighters on Instagram, things like that. At the end of the day, like, you're doing it because you want to. It's not, oh, I'm gonna make all this money from doing it. It's not that at all. It's start and then just build and grow from there. When I started filming, I had no idea that I wanted to get into fighting or that I would enjoy fighting. I went through, weddings, through football, through bodybuilding, personal trainers, things like that.
Vlogging,
OnlyFans.
It's stuff you can't find yet.
Yeah. Those hard drives are now corrupted. No, I'm just kidding.
Corrupted. You're corrupted. But yeah, no, I think it speaks volumes about you kind of have to go through, like, podcasting is something that I think I'm good at, but it's not to say I'm not going to be doing it in 10 years, but I don't want that to be the be all end all.
Exactly.
But I think you do have to kind of lean into what you're good at.
Yeah.
So
it's tools, yeah. And then from there you can expand. And there's a lot of things, like I said, with doing so many things that I look back at. The tour I did with Snoop Dogg, I hate all the footage I shot from it because I never really shot concerts. And then now I'm getting thrown into being on tour with him and trying to capture stuff and learn on the go. And there's some shots that I did really like. And then there's other shots where I just hate it when I look at it. But it's like, okay, I shot that. Do I really want to shoot concerts and stuff again? Not really. If an opportunity arises, cool. It's a lot of fun, especially if it's an artist that I like or a band that I like.
And if it's local too, it's probably not, you're not going to have to follow it with a tour.
Exactly. And, I would love to go and shoot it, but I'm not going out and reaching out to, promoters or venues and being like, hey, I'm a concert videographer. I'd love to work with you. Like, that's just not my niche.
Yeah.
And so you kind of start to pick and find things that you like. I'll always shoot anything that has to do with fighting. I love it. It might not be my main focus right now, but if opportunity's gonna arise, I'm fully gonna take it. Right now, I'm trying to focus more on, actual productions type of things and building up with more of a crew, understanding a lot more of lighting and everything on the technical side of shoots, because I'm not a technical shooter at all. A lot of it is all run and gun or setting up, one light or two lights here and there. So now a lot of my focus is in that side. And that was, the shoot that I did with Snoop Dogg. It was 80% of it was a green screen shoot. And that was a challenge. I went into it not knowing what any of the backgrounds are going to be. I had everything in my head, but I didn't know fully.
He's shooting like super wide and they're like, no, he's supposed to be like an event. And you're like,
yeah,
I'm sorry, dude.
And again, the pre-production came through all of it. I pulled frames. I use like frame set and shot deck, and I pull frames of things that I like and kind of what my brain is imagining it to be. And then I take that and I shoot it. I light him that. And this was one that was fun. Again, I had a team with me that some of my close friends that, they crushed it 100%. I got to just direct. I didn't have to cam up. I got to just make sure everything was the way that we needed it to be. And now I'm seeing everything as we're finishing post-production, and all the shots are 10 times better than what I even imagined them to be. And so it's like, okay, cool. Now I know what I did to get this. How do I get even better from that? And I have some shoots coming up with some new launches and things like that I'm again going to try and continue to elevate. I'm going to test something completely new in this next shoot I do actually next week. And, you know, if it works, I'm going to be super pumped. If it doesn't,
on to the next one.
Yeah. How do I make sure it works the next time?
Yeah.
Like, so it's just constantly evolving. I know that kind of strayed away from the original question, but it's like exactly that. You start somewhere, you meet somebody, you ask to do something, and then from there it'll just evolve into working with all these other people. And then again, doing it because you enjoy what you're doing. You know, if you're in it for the money, this is not the job.
Wait, you guys are getting paid? Like, you guys are getting paid for this?
Dude, I think I'm getting my next check next week. Finally, my first one ever. They're finally going to pay me.
First one. I've been with them for 4 years.
Exactly.
They're going to pay me next week. But, so I think this is going to be a fun question to leave off on. What would be, off the top of your head, what would be your desert island camera and lens? You get one camera and one lens.
Oof. Okay, but what am I shooting? Is it hybrid? Is it stills? Is it
I think video? It might be hybrid. I'd argue hybrid.
Okay.
I'm gonna say we won't know until you're on the island. But you can only bring one. You're gonna crash land.
Okay.
See, but you can only bring one camera, one lens. What would those be?
Well, if I'm gonna be on the island, I want the island to look absolutely insane. So it's gonna be some type of anamorphic lens.
Just
because right anamorphic, in my opinion, just makes everything look so much better. And then camera wise, I'll probably go with the FX2.
The two. Do you want the viewfinder?
I haven't used it, but I have some friends that have it, and seeing what they've done and talking to them, kind of picking their brains behind it. I think it is a fantastic camera, and I would love to have it as something to do like location scouting with. Especially because like the viewfinder is so solid to have on that. And then having the viewfinder while shooting video it's another point of stability. So that's I think that could be really cool to have.
It's like it's like I don't,
if you're on a very minimal rig, like think if you're shooting video on the A7 III.
I never once have thought, let me go through the viewfinder when I'm filming this video.
It's a different viewfinder though, because it pulls up.
It's basically just the 6500 viewfinder. It's basically those. It's
6500 move? I thought it's a statement.
Well, no, it doesn't move, but okay, but it moves up like a half inch. Like it's not like it's like
no, I think
the big eyepieces.
I think those would be my choices. Again, I've never shot on the FX2, so I could be shitting the bed here. But
because it could be Super 35 like these FX30s, and nobody's been telling us. But
hey, I'd be okay with it though.
All right,
slap anamorphic on there.
Just at the end of the day, if you take away anything from today's episode, it's anamorphic.
Dude, that
work it into your budget.
The island's looking a little bit better. I'm telling you. If you haven't shot anamorphic, try it. I'm telling you.
Well, Jon, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm glad we got to. This sounds so bad. I'm glad we got to deflower you a little bit for podcasting.
I'm glad you guys are so gentle with me, actually.
Of course. We always want to be gentle. Go ahead and tell the people where they can find you. What do you have coming up next? I know you're doing stuff with Roobet, but what do you have personally going on? And if they want to see more of what you do or see, because I'm going to try to show a little bit of what you have out there.
I mean, majority of my stuff I'll put just through my Instagram. It's @_Jon Lilly_ because somebody also has my name, so I had to spice it up a little bit. But yeah, I post, everything that I'm working on, final things, frames, a little bit of my personal life on there, things like that. So you can find everything through there. So, and then as far as projects, nothing that I can speak on right now.
I've got an NDA.
Yeah, I mean, I do. So I can't do anything with that. But a lot of the Snoop Dogg content I shot will be coming out probably by the end of November. So that'll be on my socials. And then I just shot some stuff for the new F1 arcade that opened up last week.
Okay.
So that was pretty cool to see that place. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got right now that I can speak on.
Sure.
So,
well, thank you again, Jon, for coming on. It was a really cool conversation. I really am glad we got to geek out. Because that's what I want to do more so of on this show. But thank you so much to everybody for watching. We'll have a new episode out maybe next week. We'll have to see who we can get next to sit in the hot seat. But thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.